The book of Ecclesiastes, attributed to the wise King Solomon, stands as one of the most profound and honest reflections on the meaning of life ever written. Unlike other biblical books, it opens with a startling declaration of the vanity of earthly things. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity. Yet behind this seeming melancholy lies a rich and transformative wisdom that has guided seekers of truth for thousands of years. Ecclesiastes is far more than a pessimistic observation about life's futility. It is a call to humility, simplicity, and reverence before God. It reminds us that time passes, material achievements are temporary, and true joy is found in fearing the Lord and living with eternal purpose. This remarkable book challenges human pride, the pursuit of ultimate control, and the worship of pleasure, pointing us instead toward a balanced life centered on what truly lasts. The teacher, as Solomon calls himself, speaks from a position of unique authority. He had experienced everything this world offers: unlimited wealth, vast knowledge, political power, architectural achievements, and every pleasure imaginable. Yet through it all, he discovered that apart from God, even the greatest human accomplishments become meaningless. His wisdom comes not from theory, but from lived experience, making his insights both profound and practical. As we journey through these 30 essential lessons drawn from Ecclesiastes, we are invited to reflect deeply on our choices, priorities, and the legacy we leave behind. Each teaching offers timeless wisdom that speaks directly to the challenges we face in our modern world. Here is wisdom that endures, truth that transforms, and guidance that leads to genuine fulfillment. First lesson: there is a time for everything. Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. This opening lesson presents one of the most powerful reminders about life's natural rhythms and divine timing. Life unfolds in seasons, and not everything happens when we want it to. There is a divinely appointed time for every experience: to be born and to die, to plant and to harvest, to weep and to laugh, to mourn and to dance. When we truly understand this principle, we begin to live with more peace and less anxiety. The secret lies in trusting God's timing and learning to discern the right moment for each action. True faith recognizes that even seasons of silence and waiting have profound value because they are part of the Lord's sovereign plan. This wisdom teaches us to embrace where we are while preparing for where God is leading us. Second lesson: work diligently and trust the results. Ecclesiastes 11:6. In the morning sow your seed, and in the evening withhold not your hand, for you know not whether shall prosper either this or that, or whether they both shall be alike good. This verse teaches the importance of perseverance and continuous trust in our efforts. We must work diligently without giving up, because we cannot know which effort will ultimately bring forth fruit. God calls us to sow continually, morning and evening, trusting that He controls the results. The lesson here is profound. Our responsibility is faithful action, while the outcome remains in God's hands. Blessings may come from where we least expect, and daily faithfulness is always rewarded in due time. This principle frees us from the burden of guaranteed success while encouraging consistent effort and trust. Third lesson: injustice exists, but God will judge all. Ecclesiastes 3:17. I said in my heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. Even in the midst of apparent injustice, Solomon recognizes that there will be a final and perfect judgment. This lesson brings comfort to the suffering and calls for unwavering trust in God's ultimate justice. God sees everything and will act at the appointed time. Justice may not always come in this life, but it will surely come. The Lord does not ignore the suffering of the righteous or overlook the wickedness of the ungodly. Our part is to remain faithful, believing that God is the righteous judge and that no act, whether good or evil, escapes his perfect sight. Fourth lesson, wisdom preserves and gives life. Ecclesiastes 7:12. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense, but the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to them that have it. Solomon draws a comparison between wisdom and money, noting that both offer protection. However, wisdom possesses a far greater benefit. It preserves and gives life. While money can provide temporary safety and security, wisdom brings spiritual direction, moral discernment, and divine guidance. True wisdom guards us from destructive choices, guides our actions toward righteousness, and draws us closer to God. This lesson reinforces that investing in wisdom is infinitely more valuable than accumulating wealth. Divine wisdom serves as a refuge, a guide, and a wellspring of life that enriches every aspect of our existence. Fifth lesson, no one is completely righteous. Ecclesiastes 7:20. For there is not a just man upon earth that does good and sins not. Solomon acknowledges the universal imperfection of humanity. This lesson confronts us with the sobering truth that everyone sins, even the most righteous among us. It serves as a call to humility, grace, and forgiveness in our relationships with others. We should not expect perfection from others or from ourselves. We all need God's mercy every day, and recognizing our limitations is the first step toward relying on His grace. This lesson helps us live with more compassion toward others and less harsh judgment, remembering that we are all fellow travelers in need of divine forgiveness. Sixth lesson, God controls the future. Ecclesiastes 8:7. For he knows not that which shall be, for who can tell him when it shall be? The future remains a mystery beyond human comprehension. This lesson reminds us that no matter how carefully we plan or how much we prepare, we do not have complete control over tomorrow. Rather than producing fear, this truth should lead us to depend wholly on God. When we accept that the future rests securely in the Lord's hands, we discover genuine peace. Anxiety gives way to faith, and uncertainty becomes an opportunity to trust. God knows what is best for us, and trusting in Him allows us to live one day at a time with serenity, purpose, and confidence in His perfect plan. Seventh lesson, the wise heart discerns right timing. Ecclesiastes 8:5, whoso keeps the commandment shall feel no evil thing, and a wise man's heart discerns both time and judgment. Knowing when to act is a distinctive mark of true wisdom. There is a divinely appointed moment to speak and to remain silent, to move forward and to wait patiently. This lesson invites us to seek spiritual sensitivity and divine discernment in all our decisions. The wise person is not necessarily the one who always speaks first or rushes ahead, but the one who observes carefully, prays earnestly, and waits for God's perfect timing. Since God works with specific times and ways, developing discernment saves us from costly mistakes and leads us in paths of peace. Eighth lesson, do everything with excellence. Ecclesiastes 9:10, whatsoever your hand finds to do, do it with your might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave where you go. This is a powerful call to diligence and excellence in all our endeavors. The time to act is now, while we still have breath and opportunity. After death, there will be no more chances to accomplish anything meaningful or to make a positive impact. Therefore, we must approach every task with dedication and wholehearted effort, whether the responsibility seems large or small. Living with purpose means not wasting the opportunities God places before us. Excellence in our work becomes a form of worship, And since life is brief, each day represents a precious chance to leave a lasting legacy. Ninth lesson, success doesn't always follow human logic. Ecclesiastes 9:11, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happens to them all. This lesson reveals that life doesn't always unfold according to human expectations or logic. The fastest runner doesn't always win the race, and the strongest warrior doesn't always win the battle. The most prepared person doesn't always achieve the expected outcome. Life is full of surprises, and ultimate control remains in God's hands rather than ours. Instead of relying solely on our natural strengths and abilities, we must depend on divine grace and sovereignty. True humility comes from realizing that success doesn't result only from human effort, but ultimately from God's providence and timing. 10th lesson, small mistakes can destroy great wisdom. Ecclesiastes 10:1. Dead flies cause the ointment of the apothecary to send forth a stinking savour. So does a little folly him that is in reputation for wisdom and honour. Even a small error can destroy a reputation carefully built through years of wisdom and integrity. This lesson warns us about the critical importance of guarding even our seemingly minor actions and decisions. Foolishness, even in small amounts, can damage what was painstakingly and carefully built over time. This truth calls us to constant vigilance, careful attention to our testimony, and discernment in our words and deeds. True wisdom involves not only having good ideas and insights, but living with consistent integrity. Reputation and character take years to build, but can be lost in a single moment of poor judgment. 11th lesson, preparation and wisdom increase effectiveness. Ecclesiastes 10:10. If the iron is blunt, and he does not whet the edge, then must he put to more strength, but wisdom is profitable to direct. Working without wisdom is like using a dull tool. It requires much more effort while producing far fewer results. This lesson teaches us the importance of pausing to sharpen the axe by seeking direction, acquiring knowledge, and making proper preparation before taking action. Wisdom saves our strength, prevents costly mistakes, and dramatically increases our effectiveness. Many people burn out because they act impulsively without taking time for reflection and preparation. God invites us to depend on Him, listen carefully to His voice, and act with divine discernment rather than rushing into situations unprepared. 12th lesson, evil plans often backfire. Ecclesiastes 10:8. He that digs a pit shall fall into it, and whoso breaks a hedge, a serpent shall bite him. This poetic image speaks directly to the consequences of harboring evil intentions toward others. Those who plan harm for others often end up falling into their own carefully laid traps. God's justice may appear subtle at times, but it operates with absolute certainty. This lesson invites us to live with complete integrity. Those who dedicate their lives to bringing others down ultimately destroy themselves. Instead of acting with malice or seeking revenge, we must actively promote truth, justice, and peace. The Lord's justice is perfect, and He will repay each person according to their works. 13th lesson, give generously and trust God's timing. Ecclesiastes 11:1. Cast your bread upon the waters, for you shall find it after many days. This beautiful expression speaks of the principles of generosity and faith working together. Casting bread upon the waters suggests a gesture of complete trust, giving without knowing exactly when, how, or even if the return will come in the way we might expect. This lesson encourages us to sow goodness and bless others, even without any guarantee of immediate return or recognition. Whoever acts generously will be rewarded in God's perfect timing and according to His perfect plan. Kindness is never wasted, and God sees every act of love and service. Living by faith means planting seeds of goodness, even when we cannot yet see the harvest. 14th lesson, understand your eternal destiny. Ecclesiastes 12:7. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it. Earthly life has a certain and unavoidable end. Our physical bodies will return to dust, but our spirit will return to the Creator who gave it life. This lesson reminds us of our true origin and eternal destiny, emphasizing that we are far more than mere flesh and blood. This eternal perspective changes everything: our priorities, our relationships, our pursuit of meaning and purpose. Those who truly understand that the soul is eternal live differently, with reverence, purpose, and careful preparation for meeting God. Knowing that our spirit returns to Him should lead us to live wisely with eternity constantly in view. 15th lesson, the purpose of life is to fear God. Ecclesiastes 12:13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. This represents the climax of Ecclesiastes, the spiritual and philosophical conclusion to all of Solomon's searching and questioning. After exploring every avenue of human experience and achievement, Solomon declares that the true meaning of life is to fear God and obey His commandments. This lesson summarizes the entire purpose of human existence. No matter how much we learn, achieve, or experience, what matters most is living in reverence toward God. To fear God doesn't mean to be terrified, but to live with deep respect, trust, and love. This holy fear guides us, protects us, and leads us into true wisdom and fulfillment. 16th lesson, true enjoyment is God's gift. Ecclesiastes 5:19. Every man also to whom God has given riches and wealth, and has given him power to eat thereof, and to take his portion, and to rejoice in his labor. This is the gift of God. Prosperity involves much more than mere accumulation of possessions. It includes the divine ability to enjoy what we have with genuine gratitude and proper perspective. This lesson teaches that only God can give us the power to enjoy our blessings with true balance and contentment. Many people possess wealth but lack peace of mind. Others work constantly but never truly rest or enjoy the fruits of their labor. True prosperity means having enough to live well, combined with a heart that is satisfied with what God has given. When God is at the center of our lives, prosperity brings peace rather than worry. 17th lesson, money is useful but not ultimate. Ecclesiastes 10:19. A feast is made for laughter, and wine makes merry, but money answers all things. This verse reveals a practical side of life that we cannot ignore. Money does solve many material needs and challenges. It purchases necessary resources, helps in emergencies, and facilitates many aspects of daily life. However, this is not an exaltation of greed or materialism. The lesson here is to use money with wisdom, while never placing our ultimate hope or trust in it. Money is a useful tool, but it should never become our God or master. True prosperity means knowing how to use money effectively without being ruled or controlled by the pursuit of it. 18th lesson, don't wait for perfect conditions. Ecclesiastes 11:4. He that observes the wind shall not sow, and he that regards the clouds shall not reap. This lesson serves as a powerful warning against being paralyzed by fear, perfectionism, or the endless wait for ideal conditions before taking action. Waiting for absolutely perfect circumstances is a trap that steals our opportunities to prosper and make progress. God calls us to take steps of faith even in the midst of uncertainty and less than perfect conditions. The real harvest comes to those who plant with courage and trust. If we want to succeed in life, we must be willing to act even without having all the answers or guarantees. Faith doesn't wait for a completely cloudless sky. It trusts God and sows, knowing He gives the increase. 19th lesson. Accept wise correction over empty praise. Ecclesiastes 7:5. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools. Genuine correction from a wise person represents a valuable opportunity for growth and maturity. Unlike empty praise that merely flatters our ego and keeps us stagnant, healthy rebuke challenges us to examine ourselves and mature in character and wisdom. It's not always easy or comfortable to hear confronting words, but those are often the very words that transform us for the better. True wisdom doesn't become offended by correction, but receives it as a precious gift from God. It's far better to be corrected in love than to be deceived by flatterers who tell us only what we want to hear. 20th lesson. Finishing well matters more than starting strong. Ecclesiastes 7:8. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. While starting strong is important, finishing well is even more crucial. Many people begin projects, dreams, or spiritual journeys with great excitement and enthusiasm, but relatively few persevere faithfully to the end. God places tremendous value on faithfulness until the finish line. Real growth and maturity happen in the space between the beginning and the end, through various challenges, tests, and seasons of difficulty. Patience and perseverance are far more precious than impulsive pride or initial enthusiasm. This lesson encourages us never to give up halfway through our journey, but to keep moving forward with faith, consistency, and trust that God honors those who complete their race with integrity and purpose. 21st lesson. Wisdom provides better protection than weapons. Ecclesiastes 9:18. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one sinner destroys much good. While many people place their trust in physical strength, military strategies, or accumulated wealth for protection, the Bible teaches that true security comes from divine wisdom. Wisdom saves us from danger, unnecessary conflict, and disastrous decisions that could ruin our lives. A wise person can save an entire city through godly counsel and discernment, while the folly of a single sinner can destroy much good that has been carefully built over time. This lesson invites us to seek wisdom from above daily, recognizing that it's not power or wealth that brings ultimate victory, but God's guidance and direction. Walking in wisdom builds genuine safety and helps us win the unseen spiritual battles of life. 22nd lesson. Justice is sometimes delayed but never denied. Ecclesiastes 8:14. There is a vanity which is done upon the earth, that there be just men unto whom it happens according to the work of the wicked. Again, there be wicked men to whom it happens according to the work of the righteous. I said that this also is vanity. According to human logic and expectation, the righteous should always prosper, while the wicked should suffer immediate consequences. However, that's not always how life unfolds in the short term. Solomon observes that just people often face hardship, while wicked individuals appear to enjoy success and prosperity. This lesson warns us not to become disillusioned by temporary injustice, but rather to trust in God's perfect and ultimate justice. He never forgets the faithful and will bring complete justice in His perfect timing. Our hope should not rest in immediate rewards, but in the faithful and eternal God, who will ultimately reward each person according to their works. 23rd lesson. Live in the present, not the past. Ecclesiastes 7:10. Say not you, what is the cause that the former days were better than these? For you do not inquire wisely concerning this. It's natural and easy to idealize the past and convince ourselves that former times were somehow better than the present. However, Solomon warns that it's unwise to live constantly in nostalgia or to be paralyzed by longing for the good old days. God is actively working today, and each new day brings fresh opportunities for transformation, growth, and spiritual renewal. Excessive longing for the past can blind us to what God is doing right now in our lives and in the world. This lesson invites us to keep our focus on the present, trusting that God is always doing something new and meaningful. The past can teach us valuable lessons, but it's in the present that we walk by faith and build a blessed future. 24th lesson. Sorrow teaches deeper lessons than celebration. Ecclesiastes 7:2. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. While celebrations certainly bring joy and have their proper place, it is often in seasons of mourning that we learn life's deepest and most transformative lessons. The pain of loss awakens us to the brevity and preciousness of life in ways that constant celebration cannot. Solomon reminds us that reflecting seriously on death and mortality leads to wisdom, causing us to value our days more highly and seek genuine purpose rather than mere pleasure. This lesson calls us to live with sobriety, responsibility, and intentional purpose, recognizing that every day is an unrepeatable gift from God. Times of mourning shift our focus from the temporary to the eternal, from the trivial to the truly important. 25th lesson. Contentment in simple daily joys. Ecclesiastes 3:12-13. I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. And also, that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. This is the gift of God. True and lasting joy doesn't come from human achievements, accumulated possessions, or worldly success, but is ultimately a gift from God Himself. The ability to work meaningfully, eat with satisfaction, and enjoy the fruits of our labor, these are all divine blessings that we often take for granted. Without God at the center, even the greatest human successes feel empty and meaningless. With Him, even simple daily moments become sources of profound joy and genuine gratitude. This lesson teaches that living well isn't about having everything our hearts desire, but about recognizing and appreciating God's hand in all the ordinary blessings of life. 26th lesson. Embrace both joy and sorrow. Ecclesiastes 7:14. In the day of prosperity be joyful, but in the day of adversity consider. God also has set the one over against the other, to the end that man should find nothing after him. God has designed life to include both seasons of joy and seasons of sorrow, times of prosperity and times of adversity. Rather than fighting against this reality, wisdom learns to embrace both experiences as opportunities for growth and deeper dependence on God. In times of prosperity, we should genuinely rejoice and give thanks. In times of adversity, we should carefully consider what God might be teaching us and how He might be shaping our character. This balance prevents us from becoming either complacent in success or despairing in difficulty. Both experiences serve God's purposes in our lives. 27th lesson. Guard your words carefully. Ecclesiastes 5:2. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before God. For God is in heaven, and you upon earth. Therefore let your words be few. This lesson emphasizes the critical importance of thoughtful, careful speech, especially when we come before God in prayer or worship. We should not be hasty or careless with our words, recognizing the vast difference between our limited human perspective and God's infinite wisdom and holiness. The principle extends beyond formal prayer to all our communication. Wise people think before they speak, choosing their words carefully rather than speaking impulsively or rashly. God hears every word we speak, and our speech should reflect reverence, humility, and consideration for others. 28th lesson, pursue knowledge but accept mystery. Ecclesiastes 8:17. Then I beheld all the work of God, that a man cannot find out the work that is done under the sun. Because though a man labor to seek it out, yet he shall not find it. Yea, further, though a wise man think to know it, yet shall he not be able to find it. Despite all human effort to understand everything about life and God's ways, there will always remain elements of mystery that exceed our comprehension. This lesson calls us to intellectual humility, recognizing the limits of human knowledge and understanding. We should certainly pursue knowledge and wisdom diligently, but we must also learn to live comfortably with mystery and trust God, even when we cannot fully understand His ways. The wisest person is often the one who knows the boundaries of their own knowledge and trusts God's wisdom beyond their understanding. 29th lesson, remember your Creator in youth. Ecclesiastes 12:1. Remember now your Creator in the days of your youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when you shall say, I have no pleasure in them. This urgent call encourages young people to establish their relationship with God early in life, before the difficulties and burdens of later years make spiritual focus more challenging. Youth represents a time of energy, hope, and openness that should be dedicated to knowing and serving God. The lesson applies beyond chronological age to anyone who still has opportunity to turn their heart toward God. Don't wait until crisis or old age forces you to consider eternal matters. The best time to seek God is now, while you have strength, clarity, and opportunity to live fully for Him. 30th lesson, God will judge every work. Ecclesiastes 12:14. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. The final lesson of Ecclesiastes provides the ultimate motivation for righteous living, the certainty of divine judgment. Every action, every word, every secret thought and motivation will eventually be brought into the light and evaluated by the perfectly just God. This truth should both comfort the righteous and warn the wicked. For those who seek to live faithfully, it provides assurance that their efforts are seen and will be rewarded. For those who think they can hide their evil deeds, it serves as a sobering reminder that nothing escapes God's perfect knowledge and justice. Conclusion, the wisdom that endures. The book of Ecclesiastes stands as an eternal echo across generations, calling our souls to awaken to what truly matters. Through Solomon's inspired pen, God shows us that all earthly pursuits, when disconnected from Him, become vanity, mere vapor in the wind. Wealth, pleasure, work, knowledge, and achievement all have their proper place and value, but they find true meaning only when surrendered in reverence to the Creator. Through these 30 lessons, we learn that life's ultimate purpose is not found in accumulating temporary victories or building monuments to our own success, but in fearing God, obeying His commandments, and living each day as a sacred gift from His hand. We are called to discern the seasons of life, act with divine wisdom, sow seeds of goodness wherever we go, and seek the kind of joy that doesn't depend on changing circumstances, but rests securely in God's unchanging grace. The teacher's journey through every avenue of human experience leads to one inescapable conclusion. Apart from God, even the greatest achievements feel empty, but with Him as the center of our lives, even the simplest moments become filled with meaning, purpose, and eternal significance. May these truths not remain merely as intellectual concepts in our minds, but be planted as living seeds in our hearts. May we learn to live more simply, more deeply, and more eternally, with the Lord as the center of our days and eternity as our ultimate destination. In a world that constantly promises fulfillment through temporary things, Ecclesiastes calls us back to the only source of lasting satisfaction, a life lived in reverence and obedience to our Creator. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment, with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. This is the wisdom that endures, the truth that transforms, and the foundation upon which a meaningful life is built.